Currencies Bitcoin December 5, 2017 0828 PM GMT by Raul. I_Maya. A while ago, I asked a regular commenter at the Automatic Earth, who goes by the moniker Drive D, to try and write an article for us. Not long after, I received no less than 31 pages, and an even 12,345 words. Way too long for today's digital attention spans. We decided to split it into 5 chapters. After we work through those 5, we'll post it as one piece as well. Dr. D, who insists on sticking with his nom de plume, picked his own topic, and it's fittingly Bitcoin. A topic about which one can cover a lot of ground in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. Now, I wouldn't be me if I didn't throw in my own 2 Satoshis. Drive D claims that everyone has an equal opportunity to solve the next calculation, but while that may perhaps have been sort of true at the very start, it isn't now. It's not true for the computerless or computer illiterate, for those too poor to afford the electricity required by Bitcoin mining, and for various other very large groups of people. The equal opportunity idea sounds nice, but I think Bitcoin runs the risk of creating just another set of elites, while reinforcing existing elites, who can afford to either buy Bitcoin at whatever price at some point in time, or spend large sums to build mining installations in locations where electricity is cheap. And sure, there will be losers among the elites too, but inequality itself will not change. Only the faces of winners and losers will, while the world's real losers will remain just that. It's nothing new, of course. Inequality is our society's middle name, but maybe that is precisely the problem. Maybe Bitcoin should have come with an inbuilt way to spread wealth, not just shift it around. Then again, it may all just be a giant bubble, or a bubble inside a bubble inside a bubble. Here's your Dr. Drive D. Bitcoin is all the rage today, and as it crosses over $10,000, a 10-bagger for the year, we should look at what it is, what it isn't, and why it's become so popular. Note my observations are those of a layman, which may be more useful than those of a programmer, but also those of a skeptic, which I'll get to at the end. First, what is Bitcoin? Well, the idea of digital money goes back to the first digits, financial mainframes. In fact, the money in use today throughout the financial system have long been no more than virtual 1s and 0s on a spinning hard drive somewhere, but the idea of Bitcoin money, private money, goes back further still. I mean, what is money? At its core, it's no more than the most tradable good in a given society, a trading chit we use as a measurement tool, a token recording how much value we created or are owed. Arguably the first money was not gold, not seashells or even barter, but a promise. Let me borrow your net and I'll give you a couple fish from the work. Why? Because you might break the net or I might use it, so I need to get paid for my risk, reward for my effort in making and storing the net to begin with. So money at its most austere is simply a promise. But a promise to whom, for what? And that's the problem. No matter what good you use, people place differing values on it, different time preferences, and most especially ways to cheat, game the system, and renege. This is bad among businesses, banks, who are, after all, only men, especially bad among governments, but worst of all among government and banks combined. Because, should the banks lie, renege, default, abuse their privilege, who then would hold them to task? In the past, over and over, groups have created their own money. The whole 19th century was marked by general stores extending credit, banknotes issued by thousands of private banks, each with their own strength and solvency and geography, and discounted accordingly. In the 20th century, with central banks controlling money, many cities issued local, scrip, promises to pay, in Detroit in the Depression, or California in the budget crunch of 2009, or Ithaca dollars in NY as a sort of ongoing Ivy League experiment. But the problem with these only highlight the problems with money generally. Woken issue them. Everyone? A central authority? Can they deliver goods? And what can they buy, not just in value but in location? Ithaca dollars or California tax vouchers are not much good to buy oil from Texas or tea from China. People will always prefer a good that is accepted everywhere, with no decay and no discount, because ultimately the money flows away, offshore at a central taxation, which makes local currencies ever less valuable. But even if successful, it leads to a new set of problems if Detroit or Ithaca dollars were in high demand, there would be ever stronger incentive to counterfeit, cheat, and double-spend them. Thus from the Renaissance to now we used reputable banks backed by force of governments. Through the gold standard and the fiat age until today. Enter the hackers. It's not that these problems are unknown, or haven't been approached or attempted before. Every generation, when they find the bank's government take a percentage for their costs to ensure the system, thinks how can we do away with these guys, who both take too much and end up in an unapproachable seat of power. I mean, aren't we supposed to be a democracy? How can we have a fair society if the Iron Bank is both backing all governments at once, on both sides of a war? What good is it to work if compounding interest invariably leads to the winning boardwalk and Park Place 100% of the time? But despite several digital attempts, some immediately shut down by government, no one had a solution until Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but since several of the well-meaning developers were immediately jailed for even attempting private money on reasons arguably groundless, we can suppose he had good incentive to remain anonymous. And speculation aside, it doesn't matter. Satoshi's addition was not Bitcoin per se, but simply an idea that made private currency possible. The domain bitcoin.org was registered in 2008, showing intent, and the open source code was promoted to a small cryptography group in January 2009. But what was it? What did it solve? Double spending. Basically, the problem of money comes down to trust. Trust between individuals, between the system, but also partly trust in non-interference of governments or other powerful groups. Bitcoin is a trust machine. How does it work? Well, the basic problem of cheating was one of not creating fake, hidden registers of value, as the US government, JP Morgan, and the COMEX do every day. If they asked Yellen to type some extra zeros on the US ledger, print a few pallets of $100 bills to send to Ukraine, who would know? Who could stop them? So, with Bitcoin, the register is created by essentially solving a math problem, akin to discovering prime numbers. Why does something so pointless? Simple math doesn't lie. Unlike US dollars, there are only so many prime numbers. We can be certain you won't reach 11 digits and discover an unexpected trove of 1,000 primes in the row. Can't happen. However useless, math is certainty. In this case, math is also limited. It's also known and provable, unlike the US budget of Federal Reserve accounting. The second problem of cheating was someone simply claiming chits they did not own. This was solved by having the participants talk back and forth with each other, creating a public record, a ledger. In fact, Bitcoin is nothing more than a very, very long accounting ledger of where every coin came from, and how every coin has moved since then, something computers do very well. These accounting lines register amongst all participants using a process of confirmed consensus. Double spending is when someone writes a check either against money they don't have yet and round-robin in the money for the 1 second of clearing, or else write a check against money they do have but then cancel the check before it clears, walking away with the goods. In a standard commerce, the bank backfills fraud and loss and the government arrests, tries, and imprisons people, but it's no small cost to do so. Although there is still a small possibility of double spending, Satoshi's plan effectively closed the issue. The ledger is either written or unwritten. There is no time in the middle to exploit. Great for him, but if I buy coins by Satoshi and the original crypto group, won't I just be transferring all my value to make them rich? Although Bitcoin's supply may be limited by mathematics, this is the issue a problem. It is solved because as a free, open-source code, everyone has an equal opportunity to solve the next calculation. Bitcoin starts with the original 50 coins mined in 2009, so yes, early adopters get more, but they took more risk and trouble back when it was a novelty valuable only as proof of concept. The original cash transaction was between hackers to buy 2 pizzas for 10,000 BTC, $98 million today. Why shouldn't they get preference? At the same time, we are not buying all 20 million eventual coins from Satoshi and his close friends, which is arguably the case with the Federal Reserve and other central banks. Bitcoin is bought and created from equal participants who have been actively mining as the coins appear, that is, from doing electronic work. This leads to the next challenge: why would anyone bother keeping their computers on to process this increasingly long accounting ledger? Electricity isn't free. The process of mining is the recording of Bitcoin transactions. The discovery of coins therefore effectively pays for the time and trouble of participating in a public accounting experiment. Even should that stop, the act of using Bitcoin itself cannot be accomplished without turning on a node and adding lines to process the ledger. So we can reasonably expect that people will keep Bitcoin software on to help us all get Bitcoin work done. That's why it's a group project public domain shareware. What if they shut it down? What if it's hacked? This leads to the next problem: resiliency. You have to go back a step and understand what Bitcoin is: a ledger. Anyone can store one, and in fact participants must store one. If Bitcoin were shut off, as it were, it would be stored with each and every miner until they turn their computers back on. If it's off, there's no problem, because no one transferred any Bitcoin. If it's on, then people somewhere are recording transactions. Think of it like a bowling group keeping a yearly prize of the ugliest shirt. Is there an actual shirt? No, the shirt is not the prize. Is there a gold trophy? No, prize is simply the knowledge of who won it. There is no physical object at all. Strangely, that's why it works. This is important for the next problem: intervention. Many private monies have been attempted, notably e-gold within Bitcoin's own origin. But the problem was, if there was anything real, like a gold bar, it could be encumbered, confiscated, and stolen. You'd have to trust the vault, the owner, the auditor, and we're back in the old system. At the same time, if Satoshi were keeping the Bitcoin record and had any human power over it at all, government could imprison him, pass a law, create a cease and desist, or demand he tamper with the record, which they did with e-gold. But Satoshi does not have that power, and no one else does either. Why? Precisely because Bitcoin doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. Or rather, the only real thing is the ledger itself, which is already public to everyone everywhere. You can't demand the secret keys to Bitcoin privacy because it's already completely, entirely public. What would a government demand? Suppose they ordered a miner to alter the record, the other miners would instantly reject it and it would fail. Suppose they confiscated the ledger they now own, what everyone already has. Suppose they unplugged it, they would have to unplug the entire internet, and everything else on it, or every Bitcoin node. 1by1, worldwide. If any nodes were ever turned on, all Bitcoin would exist again. Can they track them down? Not really. In theory, Bitcoin can be written on paper without an internet. In practice, any public or private key certainly can be. So even chasing down the internet, it would be very difficult to stop it given sufficient motivation, like the Venezuelan hyperinflation, where they are chasing down miners, wallets, and participants, and failing despite overwhelming force. What about privacy? A completely public ledger recording every person and every transaction. Seems like a police-state stream of enforcement and taxation. Is it private? Yes and no. The Bitcoin ledger is not written like Senator Smith spent .0001 BTC on August 21, 2015 to buy a sex toy from Guangzhou, but wallet #2 transferred .00017 BTC to wallet #3 at UTC 134312211112017, and not even that it's encrypted. Who is #2? You can go back, but it will only say #2 exists and was created on time date. Who is #3? The ledger only says #3 was created a minute ago to receive the transaction. In fact, #2 may have been created solely to mask the coin transferred from #1. So is it anonymous? Not exactly. Given enough nodes, enough access to the world's routers, enough encryption, you might see #2 was created in Pawtucket, and if #2 is not using active countermeasures, perhaps begin to bring a cloudy metadata of #2 possible transactions into focus, tying it to Amazon, then a home address, but the time and resources required to break through would be astronomical. What about theft? Yes. Like anything else, it can be stolen. If you break into my house and tie me up, you can probably get the keys. This is also true online, as you must log on, type a password that can be logged on a screen that can be logged over a network that can be logged, but think again about what you're doing. Does it make sense to break into every participant's computer one by one? Most Bitcoin is held by a few early adopters, and probably those wallets were lost when Their hard drives crashed, the users lost their passwords, or died before this computer experiment had any value. We know for a fact that all of Satoshi's original coins, 2.2 million of them, have never been spent, never moved on the ledger, suggesting either death or the austerity of a saint. So even today, hacking a wallet is far more likely to net $1 than $1 million. Take a page from Willie Sutton. When asked why he robbed banks, he said, "That's where the money is." So today, where is the real money stolen, transferred? From the '08 bailout, the kiting of fake bonds in the market, the MF Globals, the rigging of LIBOR, or the fake purchase of EU bonds. You know where the money is. At $160 billion market cap, Bitcoin is still 1 week's purchase of central bank bond buying, i.e. a rounding error, no money at all. Hack a home wallet, I guess, but hacking Uber or Equifax once is a lot easier than hacking 100,000 wallets on 100,000 different computers. At least you know you'll get something. Mt. Gox was hacked and 650,000 coins went missing. Surely Coinbase, Gemini, Poloniex are the same. Well, not exactly. Check in for Chapter 2 tomorrow. By Raul Ilagi. Maya website. http theautomatasearth.com provides unique analysis of economics, finance, politics, and social dynamics in the context of complexity theory. Copyright 2017. Copyright Raul 1 Maya. All rights reserved. Disclaimer: the above is a matter of opinion provided for general information purposes only and is not intended as investment advice. Information and analysis above are derived from sources and utilizing methods believed to be reliable, but we cannot accept responsibility for any losses you may incur as a result of this analysis. Individuals should consult with their personal financial advisors. Raul Ilagi. Maya. Archive. Copyright 20,052,018. http www. marketoracle.co.uk. The Market Oracle is a free daily financial markets analysis forecasting online publication. Only logged in users are allowed to post comments. Register login.